Welcome to Law Excellence Hindu News Analysis. Today we are going to cover these topics that are appeared in the Hindu newspaper of today's edition. Now coming to the first article. Now this article is about folk tribal dance that is there in the news. Now the news is saying that there are artists from the Goan tribe perform the Gusadi dance during the Praja Palana Vijayotsava. Now this program is commemorate to 1 year of the Congress government in Telangana. Though it is a political news, but there is something important from the film's perspective. Now, if you see 2021 films PYQ, it is said that with reference to India, the terms Halbi, Ho, and Q pertain to which of the following? Now, here the correct answer is tribal languages. So, tribals as a theme is very important from the examination perspective. It may be tribal languages or tribal folk dance, something like that. So, you have to remember from that perspective that Gusadi dance is a performance of Goan tribes. Okay, you have to know that Gusadi dance is a folk dance that is significant part of the cultural heritage of the Goan tribes. Okay, it is overall it is part of the Dandari dance form traditionally performed during the Diwali festival in the Adilabad district of Telangana. Okay, Gusadi dance is a tribal dance. They may ask you that Gusadi sometimes seen in the news is related to the tribals of which are the following. Something like that. Okay, remember that Gusadi is a dance. It is part of the overall Dandari dance form. Now they belong to the Goan tribes, right, in the Adilabad district of Telangana. Okay. These are the things you have to remember from the film's perspective. Okay. Now coming to the next article. Now this article is saying that Supreme Court seeks details on night shelters for the homeless in the capital ahead of winter chill. Now the context of the news is that Supreme Court recently directed Delhi government to give the details about the number of shelters available for the homeless people and what are the capacity of available existing shelters and what are the number of homeless people that are there in the Delhi capital region, and if there is less number of shelters, how to deal with deficiency. Now, it directed Delhi government to answer to these questions based on the appeal. Now, it is being said that there are a lot of homeless people who are there, but it is the responsibility of the government to address their rights because right to shelter is part of the Article 21, right to life and liberty. That is what mentioned in this article. Now, why this article is relevant from the examination perspective? Yes, it is relevant. If you see the GS paper 2 previous year question, it is clearly asking about the right to life. Article 21. It's saying that the Constitution of India is a living instrument with the capabilities of enormous dynamism. Now, it is a constitution made for a progressive society, illustrated with the special reference to expanding horizons of right to life and personal liberty. Now, right to shelter is comes under the one of the expanding horizon of the right to life and personal liberty. Now, it is being said that it is literally given in the Constitution that Article 21 is a fundamental right that ensures people right to life and personal liberty. It can only deprive with procedures established by law. Now, over the time, Supreme Court interpreted in multi-purpose manner so that people have addressed their fundamental rights in different types of circumstances. For example, in one of the case, such as I think MC Mehta case, it has been said that right to live with clean environment so that there is no pollution and right to live with health is part of the Article 21. Now, in Hussainara Cotton case, now it has been said the right to speedy trial is part of the fundamental right, Article 21, because it ensures dignity of the people. The Supreme Court also given in previous cases there is a right to die with dignity. This promotes individual rights. Supreme Court also said in one of the case, Potoswamy case, right to privacy is under Article 21. Right to have choice in marriage is also Article 21. Now, even if it is any law that is violating this right, that law should be followed due process of law. Now, this was given in the Menaka Gandhi case. Right to move out of the country is part of the freedom given by the globalized world. Now, all these things are there in the Article 21 as per the expanding horizons of the right to life based on the interpretations of the Supreme Court over time. Now, this right to shelter or the Supreme Court direction towards the Delhi government regarding the homeless people, you can use them in the GS paper to mains answer. Okay. Now, another important thing you have to remember is that Olga Telis versus Bombay Municipal Corporation case. Now, this is important case of Supreme Court in which this right to shelter is part of Article 21, right to life and dignity is given by the Supreme Court. Now, it is been said that home or just roof is not just one roof over the head. Now, it has been said by the court itself that it includes a lot of things like it includes privacy, it includes space, it includes security, it includes dignity, it includes self-respect, it includes sense of pride, sense of belongingness, sense of identity to the people. So it is part of the right to life and liberty. That is what Supreme Court said in Olga Teles versus this case. Okay, remember this case name also so that you can use in the GS paper too. Right? Okay. Now we will move to the next article. Now this article is saying that Justice Manmohan is appointed as a judge of the Supreme Court. The context of the news is that recently a collegiate system headed by the Chief Justice Sanjeev Khanna recommended a name of Justice Manmohan to be appointed as the judge of the Supreme Court. Now, this is the context of the news. Now, in this context, you have to know appointment process of judges of the Supreme Court, who will appointment, what is the procedure. Now, why this article is relevant? Yes, it is relevant if you see the PYQ of prelims. It is asking about the impeachment of judges. Consider the following statements. The motion to impeach a judge of a Supreme Court of India cannot be rejected by the Speaker. Now, this is a wrong statement, okay? Next, Constitution of India defines and give details on what constitutes incapacity or proved misbehavior. No, this is a wrong statement again. So, if the motion for the impeachment of a judge is taken up for the voting, the law requires the motion to be accepted by not less than 2/3 of the members of the House present and voting. Yes, this is a true statement. Now, in this way, a question regarding the appointment process can also be asked. Okay, in this context, we have to know the appointment process of judges of the Supreme Court. Now, appointment process, not just appointment process, appointment provisions are given in the Article 124. Now, it is being said that Chief Justice of India is appointed by the President of India, and President of India appoints Chief Justice of India and other judges of the Supreme Court as per the Article 124 of the Constitution. Now, they are appointing, you have to know certain criteria or the qualification given in the Constitution itself. Now, these qualification is given in the Constitution itself. The first thing is, it said that they must meet at least one of the following criteria to be appointed as the judge of the Supreme Court. Now, the criteria is judge of the person who is appointing should be a judge of the High Court for at least 5 years, or he or she should be an advocate in High Court for at least 10 years, or he should be, in the opinion of the President, a distinguished jurist. Now, remember, from the prelims perspective, now this third provision was not at all enabled until this now. This provision was never been used. Okay. This is the from the prelims perspective. And another important thing you have to know is that there is no minimum age for being a judge of the Supreme Court. Okay. Now you have to know the process, that because it is being said that the Collegium of Sanjay Khanna recommended his name. Now, what is the process? See, it had provisions of appointing by the President. Now, who will be appointed as a judge of the Supreme Court, right? Then for this there is a collegium. Okay. Now, that is what for collegium. Now, President appointed the judges of the Supreme Court. Now, which judge has to be appointed? Because there is a criteria that at least 5 years to be a judge of High Court, at least 10 years to be an advocate in the High Court. Now, there are many people who are doing as an advocate in the High Courts. There are many people who have crossed this 5 years as a judge of High Courts. Now, among these many people, who will be identified? Who will be appointed? So, hence, for this, the collegium system was established. Okay. Now, collegium recommends among these persons, there are many people, right, who are doing as a judges of the High Court. No, they will select few names and they will select the name and given to the Law Ministry. Law Ministry in turn given to the Council of Ministers headed by the Prime Minister. Now, this Council of Ministers headed by the Prime Minister recommends the President this name, and President will appoint. Now, you know the President will act based on the aid and advice of the Council of Ministers headed by the Prime Minister. Okay. Now, this is what the process will happening. Right now, there is a criticism also, about the collegium system, because collegium identifies one person name and give to the recommendation. Now, whose name identifies? Why that particular person is identified? What is the criteria that they followed to give his or her name? There is no transparency. There is no criteria mentioned. Now, because of this reason, it is being said the collegium system is opaque in nature. There is lack of transparency. Now, there is process of discrimination and discretion. Now, it is also being said that there is no judges from the backward caste or backward communist, especially from the Dalits. Now, this is also one of the criticism. Hence, there is a lack of diversity. Now, this is another criticism. Now, another criticism regarding collegium system is that Uncle Judge syndrome. What is meant by Uncle Judge syndrome? Now, it has been said the majority of the judges, especially higher judiciary, are belong to similar families. Okay, majority of them are belong to similar families. Now, this is what called as Uncle Judge syndrome, because they are recommending the names of the judges who are known to them. There will be sense of favoritism. Now, this is what the criticisms. Okay, Uncle Judge syndrome, all these things. Now, this is the context of the news. You have to know these basic things at least from the examination perspective. Okay, remember this Article 124, no minimum age, things like that. Now, how collegium system emerged? Now, this system is emerged based on the various types of Supreme Court judgments. Okay. Now, we will move to the next article. Now, this article is saying that more cases filed under the SC/ST Act due to awareness, says Minister. Now, recently it has been said that in a latest NCRB report, it said that 67,000 cases are registered under this Act. Now, this indicates the success of the government in terms of growing awareness, promoting publicity about that, enabling the people to know their rights that are there available, and grievances to be redressed from the judiciary or existing criminal justice mechanism. Now, this is what mentioned in this article. Now, this article also mentioned about there is a lack of data management regarding the cases filed, especially regarding discrimination of the students in the central universities such as IITs and AIMS. Now, it is being said that in a reply for this, government said that there are equal opportunity cells, liaison officer, SCST cells that are established in the public institutions. Now, why this article in the news? Or why this article is important from the examination perspective? This article is important because if you see GS paper 2 previous year question, clearly it is asking that what are the two major legal initiatives by the state since independence in addressing the discrimination against scheduled tribes? This was asked directly in the mains examination. Now, not only that, scheduled caste and scheduled tribes forms part of the vulnerable sections of the society under the GS paper 2. Right? Hence, not only this, there are other questions that are repeated regarding tribals and scheduled caste, Dalits, and discrimination that are there. So, hence, you can use this act as an example in your answer. Right? Not only that, we will discuss some things that context. Now, you know that Article 15 that guaranteed right to prevent discrimination based on the caste. Now, we know that Article 17 prevents untouchability. Now, from this, there is an act to enable these things, that is Untouchability Prevention Act and Protection of Civil Rights Act of 1955. And not only that, still the idea of casteism is part of the daily life as an ideology. So hence there is a lot of discrimination happening. So to counter that, later SC/ST Atrocities Act of 1989 was enacted, right? Now there are certain things you have to remember from the examination perspective, right? Now the cases registered under this act has to be investigated by not below the rank of officer of DSP. Now this is the provision. Now another important provision that often is criticized is about section 18. Now in this act it is provided that it excludes the application of anticipatory bail. Now this indicates strict provisions. Okay, this act provides for establishment of special courts to ensure that there is a speedy disposal of justice. Right? These are the things. Now often been this act is also criticized for misusing. Okay, for false cases. Now in the recent context, the Supreme Court also said that just because of intimidation and abusing of an individual does not comes under the SC/ST Act, because that abusal or discrimination should directly has linked with the caste identity. Then only this act has to be enabled. Now this is what the Supreme Court said. Right? Another important criticism about this act is there is less awareness about the people in terms of this act. What is the punishment? What is the rights given to the people? If people who are having awareness are misusing this. Now, this is the context of the news. Now, you can also use this act in GS paper 1 also. Right? In Indian society, often questions are asking regarding the caste. Right? Okay. Now, we will move to the next article. And before that, now, it is also said that in this case, in this article, that around 67,000 cases. Now, you can use this data that there is still discriminations happening in the Indian society in GS paper 1. So it is 57,000 cases are regarding SCs and 10,000 cases are regarding STs. Now here it is mentioned that discriminations are happening in central education institutions. Now in GS paper 1 there are questions about what is the role of education in social change. Now it is being said that education cannot guarantee the social change or cannot guarantee the rationality, because elite institutions or institutions of excellence like IIT saying there is caste discriminations are happening. Now you can use this example in Indian society. Now, this article minister mentioned that because of increasing register of cases, this indicates the success of in promoting awareness. But there is a criticism that because of increasing number of cases, this indicates that still there is a lot of discrimination present in the society. Hence, there is need of changes in the society. Now, this is also one of the criticism. Okay. Now, it indicates both ways. One is success of the legislation. Another one is criticism of presence of idea of casteism in the Indian society. Okay. In this way, you have to use integrated way. Now we will move to the next article. Now this article is saying that on World Wildlife Day, making a clarion call to protect the India's critically endangered species. Now it has been said that December 4 is celebrated for the World Wildlife Conservation Day. Now this is celebrated not only to celebrate the rich biodiversity but also evaluate what are the actions that we are taken. Are they sufficient? Or what are the new actions that are need to be taken? Promote awareness among the people about the biocentrism. That means the rich flora and fauna biodiversity is also have the equal right to live. Now this is what the theory of biocentrism. Okay, now all these are comes under this. Now this article is important. Why? Because It is being asked about biodiversity comes under the GS paper 3. Now there are questions asking in the prelims also about the various species and fauna regarding critical endangered species. Yeah, now you know that it is asking that there are certain species of endemic to the particular region in India, for example, Western Ghats and things like that. Okay, it is always asking regarding this endangered species. Okay, now there are certain facts that are mentioned in this article. You can use them in your mains examination, both GS paper 1 and GS paper 3. For example, in this article, it is mentioned that India has 2.4% of the land area and accounts for 7 to 8% of the all recorded species. Now, this is important to remember these facts. Now, it is also mentioned that there is a contradiction situation in India because India has only 2.4% of land area, 65% of the population are below the 35 years of age. India is an emerging economy. Now, in this context, India needs a lot of natural resources such as minerals, coal, forest, land. Now, all this indicates pressure on the ecosystems, natural ecosystem. But India has a goal of conserving the biodiversity. Now, this is a contradictory situation. Now, this is what this article is saying. But this article also had the Indian civilization or worshipping the nature is part of the Indian civilization. Now, it is being said that in India there is a worshipping nature. For example, we often worship the rivers for holy bath, right? Not only that, we have worship the trees. We worship the trees. We worship the rivers. We also worship the mountains. For example, there is a hill in Andhra regarding it's called Seven Hills. It is regarding Lord Venkateshwara or Lord Balaji. Now, in this way, we always have this worshipping of nature. Even in the Northeast, we have this sacred groves, right? In this way, Indian civilization has always linked to the nature. And not only that, even in our mythology, various animals are linked to the deity. For example, it has been said that rat is somewhat related to the Lord Ganesh, right? Snake, there is a lot of many gods names on the snake and things like that. Okay, tiger. Now all these animals are linked to the god. So in this way, nature, religion and culture are always interlinked in India. Now in the context of sustainable development, it is being said that economy and ecology should go hand in hand. Now Indian civilization has this rootedness. Okay, now, the author also mentioned that there is a risk of extinction that is increasing in India. Now, it has been said that in 2011 there are 47 species that are critically endangered. Okay, now it is increased. Now, it has been said that in India presently around 73 species are critically endangered as of 2022. Right, some of the species mentioned in this article are very important. For example, it mentioned about Malabar civet, Kashmiri stag, Malabar civet, okay, Malabar spotted civet, and Namdafa flying squirrel. And remember these some of this mentioned here. And another one is Great Indian Bustard. Now, Great Indian Bustard is facing the threats of the power lines in Rajasthan. No, some of these like Great Indian Bustard, Malabar spotted civet are very important. For example, if you see Malabar civet, it is endemic in nature. That is, it is only found in that area of Western Ghats, right? Like Kashmiri stag. No, these are endemic also. Now remember these facts because and you do reverse engineering on these particular animals because these are very important because previously UPS asks questions like this. For example, recently there is a question on pygmy hog in payback prelims, right? Now things like that. So do some research on the is critically endangered species so that they are very helpful in the prelims examination. Now India, it is also mentioned that some of the facts in this article is India has 10 biogeographic regions. India has 4 of the total 36 mega biodiversity regions. Now it is mentioned here that the 4 of the total 34 globally identified biodiversity hotspots are India. These 4 are one is Himalayas, Indo-Burma region, Western Ghats, Sri Lanka, and Sundaland. Now, all these are the 4 biodiversity hotspots among the total 34. 4 are present in India, right? Now, this article also mentions that India is home to around 8.58% of the mammals. Now, all these are the facts, right? Now, we also discussed that certain initiatives taken by India to conserve the wildlife. For example, India has Wildlife Protection Act. Now, this is a legal framework to counter the any illegal hunting, poaching, and things like that regarding wild animals. We have species recovery program to conserve the critically endangered species. We have integrated development of wildlife habitats to conserve the habitats of the species, right? Now we have also this wildlife sanctuaries, national parks, tiger reserves, elephant reserves, and recently also India has announced international big cat islands. Now you know that India has majority of the world's, that is 75% of the world's tiger population. Now this indicates that India's contribution towards the conservation of flora and fauna, right? Now all these things are you can integrate it in your answers or in the prelims examination also. Okay, do study about these critically endangered species that are given in the news, like Kashmir stag, Malabar spotted civet, Namdapha flying squirrel is also endemic to the Arunachal Pradesh, right? Now things like that. Now we will move to the next article. Now this article is saying that there are certain takeaways from the COP29. Now, there are some disappointment. There are certain things or takeaways that can be celebrated from the COP29. Now, you know that in recently Azerbaijan capital Baku, United Nations Framework Convention of Climate Change Conference was happened. Right, that is Conference of Parties 29. Now, in this context, there are a lot of disagreements, especially regarding the climate finance between the developed and developing countries. Now, major disappointment, you know that developing countries are demanding around $1.3 trillion money per year towards the climate mitigation, climate adaptation, and loss and damage and things like that. Okay. No, but actual outcome is it is $300 billion per year. Now, another important thing is that now developed countries argued that majority of the finance should come from the public finance because then only the countries are guaranteed that they will get the climate finance in a proper way. Now, actually, what happened? There is no public finance. Now, it is being said that finance can come from the now governments, carbon markets, private finance, or the multilateral development banks. No, it can be any form constitutes the climate finance. Now, this is also not agreed by the developing countries, but that is what the outcome, which is one of the disappointing nature. Another thing disappointing is that the studies are saying that the actions that are taken by the governments or countries till now are not sufficient. Now, it is been said that already the world is over 1.5949 degrees or warmer than the pre-industrial levels. Already, this is happening. No, this is what the disappointments that are mentioned in this article. There are other limitations we'll see about the flow. Now, why this article relevant from the first instance? Now, if we see this is asked in GS paper 3. The question directly asking that describe the major outcomes of the COP26 to the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change. What are the commitments made by India in this conference? Now, it is clearly mentioned that what are the COP conferences happen? It is directly asking the outcomes. Now, in this context, we have to discuss certain outcomes from the COP conferences, right? Now, this article also mentioned that certain things to celebrate or take away. That is what the outcomes here. Now, this article mentioned that there are long discussions are happening year on year regarding the climate finance. Now, carbon market become a mechanism to ensure that climate finance, to ensure that money is transferred, technology is transferred from developed to developing countries. Now, carbon markets, both bilateral carbon markets and regional and global carbon markets are agreed. Right, this is what one of the major outcome. This ensures flow of capital, technology, innovation, ideas, and things like that. Okay, and another thing is the new emission reduction pledges were announced, such as countries like UK, France, especially regarding greenhouse gases such as methane. Now, another important thing is new collective quantified goal. That is nothing but climate finance announced this $300 billion. Right. Another important thing is forest and red. Now, it has been said the forests are very important key component towards addressing climate change by absorbing greenhouse gases. Now, for this, we need increasing attention to the afforestation. Now, in this, UK has said that it will contribute 3 million euros. Now, another important thing that is an outcome is biennial transparency reports. Now, this conference created a framework in which countries will provide the biennial transparency report so that there is a transparency about what are the climate actions taken by their countries in a biennial manner. Now, this indicates transparency and accountability. Right. Now, another interesting thing is that there is a framework that is created in previous COP conferences. Now, in this COP conferences, that framework is now extending regarding the gender and climate change. That is how climate change is disproportionately negatively affecting the gender, especially women, negatively. Because it has been said that if there is any drought condition, it is the woman that has to bring water from the larger distance. If there is any heat waves, it is the woman that has, or children or vulnerable sections that are mostly affected. It is the poor people, because poor people are mostly working in the outside, in the sun areas, extreme heat waves, or things like that. Okay. Next thing is updated nationally determined contribution. It has been certain countries like Mexico. It is very interesting that they are also announced that carbon neutral or net zero by 2050. Now, in this way, new countries and existing countries updated their NDCs to meet the 1.5 degrees target and renewed the existing framework on local communities and indigenous peoples platform. Now, it is been said that nature-based solutions are very important to ensure the nature-based solutions regarding mitigation of climate change. Local communities and indigenous communities are very important. They have the unique solutions as per their local culture and local biodiversity. Now, this is what ensured, right? These are the things that are the outcomes you can say. Now, there are certain limitations in this COP conference. One is inadequate finance. Now, it is being said that $300 billion is too little and too distant. Why too little? Now, they're saying 1.3 trillion is required to create an infrastructure that is resilient to climate change. Now, why it is too distant? Now, it is being said that private sector dependency. This creates too distant dream because private sector, contributions cannot be guaranteed. Now, that is what mentioned here. No sole public finance. unmet emission goals. Now already it has been said that as per the research, already 2023 is the warmest of the years set by the World Meteorological Organization. Right, things like that are already happening. So these are pledges are insufficient to meet 1.5 degrees targets. Another important thing is geopolitical conflicts. What does this mean? Now there is a disagreement among the countries regarding the carbon border adjustment mechanism of Europe. Now this indicates that if any export is carbon intensive in nature, or that the making of that product is involves a lot of carbon emissions, that export has a lot of impose certain tax. For example, India importing steel to Europe. Now steel has a lot of carbon emissions. Now on the steel that is exported from India to Europe, there is a tax levied. Because of this, Indian steel is more costly and less competitive in the Europe markets. Now this is against the economic interests of India. And not just India, there are many other developing countries also. Now this is one of the criticism by the developing countries and one of the disagreement between the countries. Now these things you have to remember from the mains perspective. At least these outcomes and limitations are very important from the examination perspective, so that you can mention in the JS paper 3 answer. Right? I hope you like this video. Thank you. Have a nice day.